Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where you are in the Bay Area or California or someplace in the nation. My name is Charlene Margot, and I'm the founder of the Parent Education Series and co-founder with my partner, Bev Hartman of nonprofit, The Parent Venture. We are delighted to have with us today, Madeleine Pizey, who's a mindful educator from nonprofit Mission B. The topic today is reducing COVID stress and anxiety for parents, part 2 of our Mindful Parent series. Again, we are very delighted to be here. If you would like Spanish interpretation today, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and then Spanish. Si necesitas español, at the bottom of your screen, globe icon, Spanish. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cynthia. And again, today's topic is important, especially as schools are reopening. It's been a long COVID year. It's a Friday, it's Mother's Day weekend, so it seems like the perfect time to be talking about mindfulness and reducing stress and anxiety. So we're very honored to have with us again, Madeleine Pizey from Mission B. Before I tell you a little bit more about her, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. Today, we are funded by the Sequoia Healthcare District, for whom this is a priority, the Sequoia Union High School District, Sequoia High School, Woodside High School, and nonprofit The Parent Venture. Special thanks to Corinne Winter, founder of Mission B, and today's keynote, Madeleine Pizey. Our format is going to be, Madeline is going to speak and take you through some exercises for about the next 45 minutes. And then we really want to hear from you, the audience. So feel free to comment in the chat, ask us questions in the chat, but for the actual Q&A, we'd like you to put your questions in the Q&A button. So comments, say what you would like to the presenters, talk to one another in chat, and then questions in the Q&A. At the very end, also, you will see a survey link. We hope you'll take a couple minutes to fill that out. It helps with planning for future events. Bev will be putting other relevant links about mindfulness and wellness in the chat, so look for those resources too. In conclusion, this event is being video recorded today and will be available on our free video library. We just got our 1,000th subscriber this morning, so we're very excited. And with more than 18,000 video views in the last couple of years, including 13,000 since COVID, we know that the Parent Education Series is helping you, parents, and we appreciate you being with us today. Upcoming events on Friday, May 14th at 4 p.m., we welcome local group Menlo Together for the Color of Law Menlo Park edition. So please join us for that. And then on Monday, May 17th at 5:30 p.m., the topic will be Vaporized, Navigating Teenage Trends in Vaping, E-Cigarettes, and Social Media with Dr. Erin Vogel from Stanford's Prevention Research Center. So again, upcoming events, hope that you will join us. All right, let me tell you a little bit about today's keynote presenter. Madeleine Pizey is a mindful educator at nonprofit Mission B. She is a meditation and yoga teacher, mindfulness consultant, and student for life. Her ultimate goal in life is to help people have more clarity, and her deepest desire is to truly help others find ways and tools to make a significant impact on their self-acceptance and find freedom within this busy world in which we live. Madeline studied yoga, meditation, and mindfulness with her mentors. I may not get these names right, Madeline, you can correct me, Coley Marsh and Masaki Okamura. And she's deeply grateful to have the opportunity to study and learn from all of her teachers. Alongside her training, Madeline recently earned her master's degree in mindfulness at Lesley University, where she embarked on silent retreats and has significantly deepened her meditation and mindfulness practice. She has taught mindfulness in school systems, to homeless shelters, and to corporations. Please join me in a really warm virtual welcome for today's speaker, Madeleine Pizey. Take it away, Madeline.
All right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon, or it might be a different time zone for you, but good day. And so we're really here today to learn how to bring this buzzword of mindfulness into our homes to support our families and even ourselves. And so just know that this is a time for you to just be, a time for you to relax. There's no tasks being asked of you to accomplish. You don't have to take care of anyone. You simply really get to just learn about being in the present moment and learn tools on how to stay fully present so that we can enjoy this world that we we live in. And so these two sessions that we've done together are designed to help you deepen or develop a mindfulness practice to help you stay calm and present, especially during this time of uncertainty. And so just to begin, I invite you to share in the chat. If you want, it's always an invitation. What is one thing you've learned from COVID? This could be like a hobby or something about yourself, a personal skill, just so we can get to know one another and see who's here. And just to let you know about me, and during this time, I've learned that I'm actually kind of optimistic. I didn't notice it, but I'm starting to see the glass, my glass more full than empty. And so Charlene already introduced you, or introduced myself to all of you. But again, my name is Madeline. I'm a senior mindful educator with Mission B, and I'm also the West Coast director. I recently was living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and now I'm actually on the West Coast, which makes things a lot easier for my partnerships. And so I found mindfulness when I was in my undergraduate years. I found myself really stressed and anxious. And in college, I found my way into a yoga room, and I found myself just feeling way more calm and more ready to take on the day. And after I graduated, I studied in Southeast Asia for 2 years in mindfulness, and I did trainings all over. And then I landed back in the States, and I got my master's in mindfulness at Lesley University. And so Mission B is a nonprofit that goes into schools and trains teachers and teaches the kids this powerful practice of mindfulness. And we've trained over 110 schools and 7,000 teachers. And, this practice has helped me find my voice. It's helped me immensely in finding that healthy balance of work and life. And it's helped me with my anxiety and in my stress, and allowed me to get really quiet so that I can understand what I want in life. And I'm doing exactly what I love to do. And so I'm really passionate about teaching you all because I teach kids, and perhaps I've taught your kids. I've taught at Woodside and Sequoia, and I know how much they appreciate these practices and benefit from them, and it will only allow them to practice more if their families are doing it as well. And so just to prepare for this, just kind of notice how you're sitting in this moment. Are you sort of slouched over your computer? Is there a way for you to make yourself a little bit more comfortable in this moment? And whenever I take that pause, I can always find a way to enhance my comfort, which could also be, grabbing a glass of water, whatever you need in this moment, allowing yourself to slow down and give yourself what you need. And also supporting yourself for your focus, see if you can eliminate those items that may distract you throughout this session. To give your mind a little break, perhaps turning off unnecessary notifications, and also just noticing, are there anything that's sort of pleasant around you that you could take some gratitude for, like a photo or a window or a candle in your space? I always like to set up my environment that is really appealing and comforting to me. And these are all ways that we can start to incorporate mindfulness into the moment. And so with that being said, one of the mindfulness practices that we do with the students is a breath practice. And the breath is the connection between our mind and our body. And when we slow down the breath, it can slow down our nervous system and allow us to feel more relaxed. And so I'm going to take you through the candle breath. And so I'll take you through it. You don't really have to think during it, but I just want to demonstrate what we are doing before I guide you. And so when you do the candle breath, it's one of the only breaths that we actually invite you to breathe. Exhale out through your mouth. So you breathe in through your nose, and then you purse your lips like you're blowing out a candle as you take a really, really slow exhale. And so I invite you to find that comfortable position for you, where you feel upright and alert, but also relaxed. So it might feel nice to sit up in your chair a little bit, to relax your shoulders. I invite you to bring your gaze down to the floor, or what I like to do is I like to close my eyes, but it's just an invitation, whatever feels best for you. And I'm going to ring the bell, and that's when the practice begins. And so I invite you to start to bring your attention to your physical body, perhaps by feeling your 2 feet on the floor. Feel that support that's underneath you. Feeling your sit bones in your chair and the backs of your thighs, seeing if you can relax a little bit more, knowing that you are supported. And then checking in and seeing if there's any tension in the body that could be released a little bit more. Perhaps right in between the eyebrows, we tend to hold a lot of stress there. As well as the jaw, it might be nice to move the lower jaw a little side to side. Then checking in with the shoulders, seeing if they can release a little bit further down your back, away from your ears. And then allowing the belly to be nice and soft. And then I invite you to connect to the power of your breath. So taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Let's do that one more time. Full breath in and a full breath out. And now beginning that beautiful candle breath, you're going to breathe in deeply through your nose. And then you're going to purse your lips and take a really slow exhale out. And just doing that at your own pace, not rushing it. Breathing in through the nose and pursing the lips and taking a really slow and steady breath out. And as you do this, continue to soften all those muscles around your eyes and your abdomen and your sit bones. And feel the effects of the breath, feel the energizing quality as you breathe in through the nose, noticing it hitting the back of the throat. And then feel the calming effect of the long and steady exhale. Then on your time, slowly allowing that practice to end, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then checking in with your mind and noticing how it feels after doing the candle breath practice. Is there a sense of calmness? Is there busyness? And not judging how the mind is, just noticing. And also checking in with your body. Does your body feel a little more at ease? And on your time, you can slowly open your eyes and return right back to the screen. Okay, welcome back. And so I invite you to share in the chat, just 1 or 2 words how that practice was for you. Did you notice a change in your mind? Did it feel good to do that practice? What came up for you? And I always like to do this with the students too, so that they can start to see the benefits of the practice. And also, if it didn't feel so good, that's also normal too. A lot of times when we do slow down, we can start to notice, oh, my mind's really busy right now. I'm really, really focused on something that's stressing me out. And so mindfulness is not just about feeling calm. It's about really being aware of what's happening in the present moment to yourself and your environment as well. And so, as Charlene mentioned, I'm also a yoga instructor, and so many people say that they don't have time to do yoga, but we can do it in just a minute. And I always like to set an alarm on my phone for every hour when I'm sitting at my desk to do a mindful movement to help release tension. Because so many times I notice that I'm sitting in a really painful position when the alarm goes off. And so I invite you to follow along with me. And if you like a movement, I invite you to add it to your toolkit to do it throughout your day, because so much stress from our mind is in our bodies. And so these are, you can do these seated, or you can do these standing. It's up to you. And so the interlock stretch, I invite you, I'll share myself so you can see me. You interlace your thumbs like this, and then Take a big breath in and lengthen out your spine. And you're welcome to close your eyes, and that will help you just feel your body a little bit more. And then as you breathe out, lean over to one side and feel that really good, healthy stretch happening on the side of your body from your hip all the way up to your fingertips. Good. Breathing in back to center. And then a big breath out over to the other side. And just move at your pace, breathing in and then breathing out as you go to the side. But try and focus on moving with your breath. Good. Breathing in through center, creating nice length. Breathing out, nice side stretch. Breathing in and breathing out. Good. Come back to center and then bring your arms down by your side. And we're just going to take a really gentle twist. So I invite you to bring your right hand to your left knee. Place your other hand behind you. Maybe you have the back of your chair or just the back of your seat. And every inhale, think about lengthening your spine. Every exhale, think about twisting. Bring your chin slightly in towards your chest. And again, optional here to close or open the eyes. So as you breathe in, lengthen. As you breathe out, twist. And feel that nice rinsing action, creating more space in the body. Here for 3. See if you can twist just a little bit deeper for 2. Good, and 1. Coming back to center, other side, left hand to your right knee, other hand behind you. And then again, just twist to your degree. Just here for 3, 2, and 1. Good, coming back to center. And then the falling stretches, you can do this again standing or seated. If you do it seated, you're gonna bring your legs out nice and long, bringing your heels onto the floor, flexing your feet. And then inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. And then as you breathe out, you're just gonna lean over your legs. And I invite you to just stay here. I invite you to really allow the head to get heavy. Feel that good, healthy stretch in your lower back and then your hamstrings. Allow the belly to be nice and soft. Maybe take a big breath out through the mouth. Allow the eyes to get heavy. Good. Breathing in and breathing out. And then slowly coming back up to your seat and coming back to the screen. And so again, I invite you to share in the chat. How did that feel? How was it for you? Was it hard to connect to your breath while you were doing movements? Did you feel a little release in the body? Did you notice something was tight? And it's just good to start to do this inquiry after every practice to start to see what practices are benefiting you. And in just a few seconds, we can become way more aware of our bodies. And there's so much evidence that tells us how doing these short movements can relieve tension. You know, we're really glued to our desks during this time, we're glued to our homes, and we can take the time to move to relieve some tension and increase our performance and our well-being. And like I mentioned, connecting to our breath can help us relate to our nervous system. The breath and the nervous system are connected, so slowing down the breath can give us a great sense of relief. And so, yeah, great. And so we live in a really busy world, and we're constantly, multitasking and overusing technology, and maybe you're, folding laundry while, trying to also make sure your kids are doing their homework, playing teacher. And so there's so much being asked of you right now, especially during this time of, like I said, having to play teacher and then having to remain calm during this time of uncertainty and then the heightened stress from the media. And so we can easily get stressed and be super busy that we forget to take care of ourselves in the moment. And in mindfulness, we often speak about, putting on our oxygen mask first before supporting others. And, like when you're on an airplane and the flight attendants always say, put on your oxygen mask before you help someone else put on theirs. And that is the same with ourselves in our daily lives. We can often put ourselves second, but we need to actually be self-regulated so that we're not reactive to those that we love or worse off, get really burnt out, which can easily happen if we're constantly on that go, go, go mode and we don't take the time to slow down and kind of tune into what's happening. And that's why mindfulness is really essential for families, especially parents and caregivers like you. It gives us a moment to just sort of check in with ourselves, to notice how our mind is, how our body's doing. And mindfulness is proven, it is a stress reduction practice. So having having a mindfulness practice can help you eliminate stress, or better yet, be more resilient when things like a pandemic happen, where you can find ways to remain calm and at ease, and to know what practices will help you take care of yourself. And so there are a lot of changes happening right now, right? Like we went from not seeing friends a lot to schools now opening up. There is an increase in isolation, wearing masks, that's starting to change a little bit. Overload on digital time. There's a lot of fear in the world right now, a lot of worry, academic performance. There might be an increase in anxiety in individuals and depression. And also, with things opening back up, that can create a lot of unsteadiness for a lot of people. And so today we're really going to focus on how this change creates fear and creates a little bit unsteadiness in us, and how that is really, really normal. And we're here to normalize it. We normalize it with the students, and how we can slow down and notice our thoughts and begin to question our thoughts and create more positive thoughts. And so today we're really going to address what's happening in our brain when we're afraid, and how we can start to become a little less fearful and worried and more positive. And so we looked at this last time, so I really want to focus on the nervous system today. And so we have two nervous systems, right? And when one is on, the other is off. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, the stressful nervous system, the fight, flight, or freeze. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system. We like to say to the students, the peaceful nervous system, the rest and digest. And we can be in that stress system way more than we like to. And that is because our system can't tell the difference between real fear and false fear. It's great if a bear is chasing us to fight, fight, or flees, right? Or if we're crossing the street and a bus quickly comes around the corner. It's good that we can know to jump away from it. But our bodies don't know the difference between the bear chasing us or a false fear, like getting an angry email from a customer, or if we're anxious before a big meeting, or if we have to public speak. We automatically have that same response. Our blood thickens, our stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline flood our bodies. And if this stays in our bodies for too long, it has health implications. We can have, heart disease or loss of memory, or other bad things can happen. And that is why mindfulness practice is so important, because it brings us right into that rest and digest. And it moves slowly, it flushes the stress hormones of cortisol from our body, it moves blood and oxygen to our rest and digest system. And these practices I'm teaching are really, really simple techniques. And if, say, you have a big meeting, you can take 3 deep breaths, and that might be enough for you to get right into that rest and digest, and no one even has to know you're doing it. And so it's just really important to plant these seeds at an early age for these children. They're very adaptable when they're younger, right? And so it's a really good time for them to start to create healthier patterns. And so it's really essential, as their leader, you being and their family and teachers as well, having this mindful practice, because children pick up on emotions really quickly as they have those mirroring neurons. And so with that being said, I thought I would have us drop into another practice and start to, again, see the benefits of it. And so I'm going to take you through the 3-part breath. And the 3-part breath is a really nice practice. You're going to first focus on the belly, and then the chest and the lungs expanding. So if it feels okay for you, I invite you to bring a hand to your belly and a hand to your chest. And then I invite you to, again, find that posture that works for you in this moment. If that is lying down, go for it. You can totally lie down. There's no right or wrong way to do a mindfulness or a meditation practice. It's all just you really listening to what you need in that moment. And so when you're ready, I'm going to ring the bell, and that's when the practice begins. So before we begin, I invite you to bring your attention to the noises in your space. As your eyes close, your gaze softens down to the floor. And just kind of notice what you hear. Maybe you hear a dishwasher going, or if you have a window open, you hear cars driving by or birds chirping. Maybe you have kids talking in the background. A really good practice to get us out of our heads and into the present moment. And just noticing that the sounds are coming and going. And checking in again with your face and seeing if it's relaxed, the jaw and the eyes, the forehead. And then again, connecting to your breath, taking a full breath in and a full breath out. And then beginning the 3-breath practice. So feel the belly rise, like it's filling up like a balloon, it's expanding. And on that same inhale, feel the chest and the lungs rise. And then as you breathe out, feel the chest and the lungs moving downward and the belly softening back towards the back. And just follow that the belly fills up, then the chest and the lungs. And then the chest and the lungs move down and the belly relaxes. And just notice that sensation. Does the belly feel warm? Does it feel soft? Can you connect to the 3 parts of the breath? Not rushing it, just allowing it to be at the pace it wants to. Good. And then slowly letting go of the 3-part breath. Noticing how you feel after that practice in the mind and in the body. And even if there's an emotion that's present for you, tuning your attention back to the noises in your space, away from the busy thoughts. And slowly opening up your eyes and coming back to the screen. And so I invite you to, again, as an invitation to share how that was for you. Did you enjoy that practice? Were you able to feel the 3 parts? How do you feel afterwards? Does the body feel a little less tense in an area? And so shifting gears and talking about fear, we talk about this with the children, with the students that we work with. And we practice mindfulness and slowing down. We allow them to start to see how their mind wanders actually almost half the time, 47% of the time, research shows. And Matt Killingsworth, a Harvard researcher, actually created an app, an attempt to answer this question, what makes us happy? And results were really eye-opening. According to his data, we're happiest when we're mindful of the moment, and we're least happy when our mind is wandering. So I invite you to think about doing your favorite activity, like going out to dinner with your friends or hiking, or maybe it's an outdoor sport like skiing. But the only thing you can think about is COVID. That's not going to be very fun, right? But then think about going for a walk. Perhaps you're walking home from dropping your kids off at the bus and you're just connecting to walking, noticing what's around you, like the houses and the trees, not really thinking about the future or the past. You're probably happier in this moment just walking, something that's not too exciting, unlike when our mind is off thinking about work or COVID, when we're doing our favorite activity, whatever that is. And so just to tell you a little bit more, his study was super simple. He had a large sample size of about 15,000 individuals, diverse ages and backgrounds and occupations, and over 80 countries were involved. And throughout the day, at random times, participants were contacted through their phones and asked to rate their current level of happiness and to explain what activity they are involved in at the moment and where their mind was off to during that activity. And so, what made people happy had far less to do with what they were doing and significantly more to do with whether their attention was fully present. So, even if the activity wasn't fun, like washing the dishes, people were still happier when they were fully engaged in just doing that. So, when we spend so much time in the mind wandering, it can make us vulnerable, leading to depression or stress or anxiety or other unpleasant emotions, which is how I used to feel when I was really unaware. And so this research and other mindfulness research is showing that the key to true happiness doesn't depend on the external circumstances, but instead on our state of mind. And we can really train in this moment to moment awareness through meditation, really allowing us to build that skill of mindfulness so then we can apply it to our everyday life, right? So, in teaching the mind to be present, we're really teaching ourselves to live more mindfully. So, I like to think of meditation as the activity. It's the thing you do. If mindfulness is like strength or flexibility, meditation is like going for the run. So, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and 40,000 of them or so are the same thoughts from the day before, and the day before, and the day before. And unfortunately, mostly negative thoughts. So, it's really important for us to begin to see our thoughts so we can change what thoughts we listen to and what thoughts we will allow to pass by like clouds in the sky. And this takes time. And so with the students, one of the activities we do that we're actually going to do together is we're going to count our thoughts. And so I invite you to pull out a paper and pen, and I'm going to ring the bell for just 1 minute, and you're just going to tally up every time you have a thought. Okay. And so let me get my clock ready, give you a moment to pull out that paper and pen. And begin. So just start to notice how the mind is wandering just by tallying, not judging it. And slowly put down your pen and paper. And we engage with the students afterwards and ask them to share, like, how many thoughts did you notice? Or could you notice that your mind was wandering? And we're really just starting to normalize how our mind works. And then we teach the students how to reframe their negative thoughts. And so then we take them through another activity where we create a T chart. And on that T chart, we have we have a negative sign at the top and a positive sign. And we ask them, we'll ring the bell again, and we take them through an activity where every time they notice a negative thought, they'll make a tally. Every time they have a positive thought, they'll make a tally. And so again, this is just normalizing that we all have negative thoughts. And that's this beautiful part of mindfulness, this common humanity that especially right now, a lot of people are struggling right now, right? Difficult times are always, very isolating, but especially in a global pandemic when we're separated from maybe even our neighbors, isolation can feel a lot deeper. So just, whatever challenge you're going through or feeling, to know that you're not alone, and that so many of us, especially teenagers, though Instagram and social media may not show it, are also having a hard time, and that mindfulness is a way for you to start to see that you're not alone in those feelings and that it's okay to feel it. And so, what I want you to know and remember, and that's why I'm here to remind you, is that you're not alone and that we always have the choice to create a kinder inner space and inner landscape, even when the outside world may seem a little unsteady. And so that's why this practice is so essential, so that we can start to gain back some control and find ways to be present. Because as we know, when we're present, we're happier than when our mind is wandering. And so then we'll really break down this reframing of our thinking. And we'll take time to think about what are some of your negative thoughts that you say to yourself, and how can we change those thoughts to be more positive. Like a challenging thought is, I had this in the beginning of the pandemic, like if I go to the grocery store and I somehow pick up COVID from the grocery store and then I bring it home and I give it to my partner, and then my partner gets sick, and then someone else gets sick, and someone else gets sick. And that's a lot of fear-based thinking, right? But instead, I could pause, take some deep breaths and say, I'm taking all the precautions I can right now. I'm wearing my mask, I'm keeping my distance, I'm washing my hands, and I'm healthy and I'm safe right now. And so we constantly we look at these challenging thoughts and how we can reframe them. And another really great way to start to reframe our thinking is to have affirmations, which are really positive statements that we say to ourselves. And so what we ask the students to do is to have a positive statement and like have it on your computer screen if you're still working from home, or have it on your desk or on your refrigerator next to your bed, or maybe as a family, say it around the dinner table. Because the more you start to say this, it will rewire your thinking. The repetition will really help. And so I'll take you through an affirmation right now. And you just whisper the statement to yourself over and over again. And so I'll do the one I choose to love and accept myself. So I invite you during this to take a pause. And if it feels okay, hand to your heart. And if that feels like too much, that's also okay. You can interlace your hands and bring on your lower ribs, or you can even just bring your hands into your lap. And I invite you to either close your eyes or bring your gaze down to the floor, something calming that's not going to distract you. And I invite you on your own pace in your mind, repeat the phrase, I choose to love and accept myself. As you breathe in and breathe out, just say to yourself, I choose to love and accept myself. I choose to love and accept myself. Good. And then slowly on your time, coming back to the screen. And so it might have felt a little awkward at first, saying those super kind words to ourselves. But over time, we can really start to strengthen that self-compassion. And so I invite you to do that as a family, or even just for yourself, to have a phrase that really seems authentic to you, that you need in this moment, and write it down, get really clear on it, and then put it somewhere near you, and then start to embody that for your family. And speaking of positivity and having that more positive framework, research shows that positive people actually live longer. And research shows that they outperform others and they have deeper relationships. And this is all great, right? But how do we do this? And how do we be more positive? And one of them is to focus on good, no matter how small it is. And it might sound cheesy, right? But it's actually really, really important to just notice the small things. When you get outside, notice a flower, take a moment on that walk, just slowing down, noticing those around you in your homes. Also, as we worked on turning those negative self-talk into positive or helpful self-talk will be really, really great way to make you a more positive and optimistic person. And also, mindfulness practices and being present, right? And I always like to tell the students, like, when you have that negative self-talk, it might be hard to think about yourself saying it to you, that nice self-talk, but maybe thinking about, like, what would a good friend say to you in that moment if you made a mistake, or if you didn't do well on a math test, right? They wouldn't tell you, oh, you're not smart, or you're not good at math, right? Instead, they would probably tell you, you're learning from this experience. You can study differently now. You need to take a little more time. We learn from our mistakes. And so it's really, really helpful to start to think about, when those negative self-talk comes up, to know that's common humanity. We all have that, but then we do have that power within us to change it. And it just takes time. And so I invite you to pause and just to ask yourself what we just worked on to strengthen that positivity. What's one good thing or person in your life? What's one good thing or person in your life? And for me, that's my little puppy that we got a month ago. Like I just look at him and that's one good thing in my life right now. And then I also invite you to start to think about maybe some negative self-talk that you can turn into some positive self-talk. And so this was kind of like today, like your mindfulness buffet. I want to take you through just before we end as well through a visualization, but I like to think of it as a mindfulness buffet. Like some of these practices probably worked for you. Maybe one of the breath practices worked or one of the movements worked. And I like to teach an array of practices because everyone likes different things. So what worked for you, great. I invite you to keep adding that into your day. But I also just want to talk about how we can make, our living space in our homes a little more mindful. Our life is pretty tech heavy right now, and I'm really guilty of even saying, I can't go anywhere without my phone. And, research is continuing to show that too much tech is, hurting our physical and our mental health along with our relationships. So we really need to find that healthy balance between the two. So I invite you to even start to notice what is in your space. Like, is your TV on a lot? Is the news on? And if it is, that's probably not very helpful for your nervous system, right? Because we have the sympathetic nervous system, that fearful state. Um, and that could be, creating more stress in your life than you need. I'm not saying don't engage and don't inform yourself, but maybe just being mindful of when it's on and when it's off. Because when your nervous system is feeling a little overwhelmed, it's probably not the best thing to also go and engage in the news. Probably better to go for a mindful walk or, you know, do a breath practice or something like that. And same with apps. Maybe turn off those non-essential apps. Notifications, like how often have you been in a flow state with work or even in a conversation, and then you get like a ding on your phone about some news article or some social media post, and the next thing you know, you're kind of scrolling through it. Also having an unplugged time each day. According to research from the National Sleep Foundation, that blue light from smartphones slows down the process of allowing us to wind down and release that cortisol, which signals your brain to become really alert. And so perhaps, not bringing your phone into your bedroom or using the new sleep mode on the iOS to block all those notifications when you go to bed. And it won't go off until the next morning when you wake up. Or perhaps even just putting your phone on do not disturb during those off hours like the weekends to avoid, seeing those work-related notifications. Also just reclaiming your time with your friends and your family. It's really hard to ignore our phones, right? If they're right next to us, especially if text messages are going off. So perhaps when you are engaging with your family, having a spot where you all place your phone so that you can be more present with each other, maybe outside of the room that you're in. And I also love this practice. Whenever I grab my phone and I ask myself, what's my intention with this? Sometimes I'm already far into looking through my email or looking at some app that I'm like, oh, I don't even know why I'm on this right now. I'm bored or I'm anxious. And then I ask myself, that's probably not going to help me in this moment with how I'm feeling. And lastly, taking those mindful breaks, doing those stretches, getting outside. Like I said, we perform so much better when we take truly restorative breaks, like getting fresh air, doing a meditation. And so I invite you to start to ask yourself when you could do these mindfulness practices, maybe in the morning or midday or the end of the day. I think it's really helpful to add a seated practice to something you already do daily, like after your morning coffee or before you have lunch or before bed, doing a movement that you really like or doing a breath practice. So just start to ask yourself, when could you start to add these in? Also, it could be really helpful to start to add mindfulness into the activities you do. And so that could be like while you have your morning coffee or your tea, taking the pause, taking a deep breath, really smelling and tasting the coffee. I don't know about you, but like my morning coffee is what actually gets me out of bed. So I want to be like really fully with the delicious taste of the coffee, or even brushing your teeth, right? We do this daily, and just bringing your attention to brushing your teeth, feeling the sensations of it. We can't really like write an email right then, right? We can maybe draft it in our heads, but just being present to just brushing your teeth or when you open and close your computer for the day. And then other times to be mindful with your children or as a caregiver when they're really tired, right? Or they're vulnerable or during transitions, especially right now. I know a lot of them are going right back to school full time, or before a big test or on a family trip or during stressful event. And I invite you to just, really start to embody mindfulness, really have that practice, give them space to pause and tell them to take that deep breath to allow them to get more into that parasympathetic nervous system, out of that fight or flight, normalizing how they're feeling, maybe being vulnerable with them and sharing how you also have felt like that before. And so with that being said, I thought it'd be really nice before we go into Q&A to just finish with a really short visualization on empathy, really putting ourselves into someone else's shoes. And so when you're ready, I invite you to find that comfortable position for you. I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze down to the floor. And right away, just start to connect to the power of your breath. Perhaps feeling the breath at the belly, the rise and fall of the belly, or the breath at the nostrils, the breath moving in through the nose and out of the nose. And in this quieter space, I invite you to think about someone you really care about as you breathe in and you breathe out. And bring that person or maybe that animal or that pet, whoever it is, right here with you in this moment. And imagine them really happy and at ease and peaceful. Notice their soft smile on their face. And now I invite you to send that same happiness and peacefulness to yourself. Good. Taking a slow breath in and a slow breath out. And then on your time, bring your attention back to the noises in your space. And slowly on your time, opening up your eyes and coming back to the screen. And so thank you all so much. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you all virtually. And now Charlene will interject and start to introduce some questions and comments.
Thank you, Madeline. That was really beautiful. And I can see why you connect with our students. I know we have on with us today Judy Romero from Sequoia High School and Elaine DeSue from Woodside High School, mental health professionals. And we know from what they tell us that the students have loved working with you and Mission B. What is one thing that the kids really like? What works for teens, Madeline? That's what we always hear from parents is, you say, oh, I really want to do mindfulness as a family. And they roll their eyes and they say, oh, mom.
Yeah, that's a great question, Charlene. I think the breath practices are really great for them, and sometimes they won't really do it until like that stressful event happens. But to always have it in have it in your back pocket to offer to them in those moments of high stress. And also, I've heard from Corinne, I didn't hear this feedback, but I heard from Corinne that we have these Tai Chi, Qigong inspired movements that are actually in the handout that we designed for you today that the actual high school boys reported loving to do. And so they're just very slow, mindful movements. And it's really nice if the students don't like to just sit still and they like to move, it's a great practice to move and to breathe and to get you out of your head and into your body and into that parasympathetic nervous system.
I love that. All right. Here's a mom who says, I've tried meditating in the past, but I just can't sit still long enough. Does walking the dog count?
Yeah, and so it does totally count, but you need to make sure that you are being mindful of that walk. I would highly suggest leaving your phone at home, bring your attention to all the things you see around you, walking really slowly and mindfully, noticing if you're starting to rush and seeing if you could slow down. And if you have a thought come up in your mind, noticing, oh, my mind's wandering right now. And right now I'm just walking. So I'm going to come right back to walking. And I love walking meditation. I feel like during this time, especially during the pandemic, I've been at home a lot. Walking meditation with my dog has been one of the best practices for me.
I think that's awesome. Here's a really good question for you, Madeline. Can you give us some tips on how to influence our kids to look at the positives? I've been trying with my negative kid and I'm having little success. Great question.
Yeah. And so I invite you to just continue to practice the positive self talk for yourself, because a lot of times it doesn't feel good when that person's already in that negative loop to be like, oh, just see the positive side of it. Come on, just see the positive side, right? But instead, you just start to really practice and embody that. And like I said, they see our behaviors, they see our emotions, and they'll start to pick up on it.
All right. Here's a writer who asks, I've heard that keeping a gratitude journal or mentally practicing gratitude can be helpful tools to feel less stressed. Why does that work?
Yeah, so gratitude is a really, really, really great practice. It's just like with the positivity that we've been talking about. It allows us to really slow down and be appreciative of the small things that are happening throughout the day. And I also do this practice. I don't necessarily have a journal. I think a journal is great, but when I go for my mindful walks, is what I do every morning. I slow down and I notice what are something new that I haven't seen before, and even just slowing down and noticing, oh my gosh, there's a really beautiful flower. It sounds sort of silly, but when you slow down, notice how that feels in your body and in your mind, and you'll start to see the effects of that appreciation where you feel good and you feel connected.
I'm going to read this comment from a parent because I just think it embodies what you've been saying, Madeline. She writes, I went to walk my dog this morning. I was so stressed yesterday, but I was walking. I noticed the blue sky and the white clouds. I remembered the song, What a Wonderful World, and I started singing it softly because I was kind of embarrassed. Then I thought, who cares? It feels good. This is the first time this happened to me. And that, I think, is the epitome of what just looking up and noticing can do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes practice, but the more we do it, the more we start to strengthen that positivity and that gratitude and that mindfulness, and we'll start to be more present in the world. So,
Okay. This is a question that is a really good question. I don't know how you answer it. How do you distinguish positive mindset and avoiding or bypassing negative thoughts and emotions like sadness and anger?
yeah, that's a great question, because we also don't want um to think of like having anger or sadness as a negativity, because it's not. It's just an emotion, like any emotion, like joy and happiness. We have a plethora of emotions and it's common to have them all. And so with mindfulness, it is really helpful to pause and to first just notice how you're feeling and to accept it. That's how you're feeling in this moment. Know that you're not alone in that feeling. And then from there, see if there's any, thoughts that are coming from it. And if that thought is a negative self-talk that you're having, or that's when you can start to ask yourself, like, is this mindset serving me in this moment? But having sadness, having anger, having all that stuff is okay. And that's like what we like to tell the kids too, like it's okay to feel how you feel.
Um, how did it work with the students when you did that exercise with counting their thoughts. I'm just curious, how did that go?
It was good. It was really interesting. They were very interested. It was more helpful once we started to do the negative and the positive and even the neutral thought. We did as well. I forgot to mention that. For them to just start to see how your mind works, right? Because I can say your mind wanders half the time. It's mostly negative thoughts. But once we really slow down and notice it, they're like, oh, wow, I'm not that nice to myself. I have a lot of negative thoughts coming up. And then I'm like, yeah, you don't have to believe those thoughts. And it's really hard practice, but learning it at that age it's so helpful.
So you can get them to break that negative thought loop just by having them notice.
Yeah, that's the first step is the awareness with mindfulness. Just being aware is the first step. And then the not judging it is the second step, right? Noticing that that's happening, not judging it, by us all talking about as a group, like, yeah, I also had a negative thought. So it's okay that I have my negative thought too. And then breaking down, seeing just one negative thought you have and how you can start to make that a positive thought.
Does it work better if they write it, or is it something they can do just kind of as an internal dialogue?
I think it's helpful to write it down. I think over time with a bit like a more dedicated practice, you'll be able to catch yourself in the moment probably. But I think really getting clear, writing it down, seeing your thought is the best way to go at the beginning. At least
Okay,
something like that.
thank you. Good,
Yeah.
good response. This parent asks, my teenage son has been diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety. What practice would be helpful for him? Right now, he's really struggling with going back to in-person school.
Yeah. I think for that might be a movement practice might be really nice. Like I said, maybe those Tai Chi and the Qigong movements might be really helpful, something a little more physical. Sometimes it's hard to sit still. When we were doing a seated practice, I had you bring your attention a lot of times like to the noises in your space. Using your senses could be really helpful. Noticing different smells that you're noticing can also help you get out of your head and help you calm down a little bit.
So what resources do you recommend, Madeline, if you have, for example, a teenager like that, probably not going to listen to mom,
Yeah.
but is there some free resource that you offer through Mission B or that you think that would be good for kids and families?
Yeah, so Mission B has a handful on their website. They have a handful of recorded visualizations, which are awesome. It's a YouTube video, so you can see like imagery as well, which is really nice. Also, there's a handful of apps that are awesome as well that I could also recommend, like Headspace and Noisio app is great for different noises. 10% Happier is also a great app as well. But yes, Bev put in the Mission B website on the chat as well.
Perfect. And there might be something that you have shared or will share that we can send in a follow-up email to parents.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Madeline, this has really been wonderful. You have convinced me that this is a great practice. You're really helping so many students through your work. We had a really nice testimonial from Judy Romero here a minute ago in chat. So thank you for everything you and Mission B are doing. I'd like to end our time together with parent education events by asking the question that I know you will have an answer for. And that is, based on everything we've been through this past year, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope?
What gives you hope?
Um, what gives me hope? I just think during this time, it's brought us all, we've connected more deeply. I think during this time, it has allowed us to slow down and be a little bit more mindful and really enjoy that those that are around us. And so I'm hopeful for more connection and yeah.
Thank you. That's a beautiful note to end on. Again, this event is being recorded for those of you who've been with us and would like to share it with a child, a spouse, a partner, your sister, whatever. This will be up on the video library in a couple of days. We work with students from the Boys and Girls Club to do our videography. So again, it takes them a couple of days to prepare it, but it's a wonderful partnership. Thank you so much, Madeleine Pizey, for today. We could not be more grateful to you and to everybody who joined us for this wonderful exercise. So take care, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. Have a great weekend, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye. Take care.